Some ideas just fizzle out in a generation, but others, they build entire civilizations that last for millennia. So what's the secret sauce? Today, we're going to uncover a kind of shared blueprint for endurance, one that's been hiding in plain sight in some of history's toughest communities. And the answer is pretty surprising.
So here's the big question we're tackling. And really think about this for a second. Forget about companies that last 100 years. We're talking about a group of people keeping their identity alive through exile, through persecution, through the rise and fall of countless empires. That is resilience on a scale that's, it's almost hard to even wrap your head around.
To figure that out, we have to start by zooming way, way out. We need the epic view. We're going to look at one of the longest continuous stories of cultural survival in all of human history. A 4,000-year-long case study that has some powerful lessons on what it really takes to last.
Just look at the sheer scale of this timeline. From the patriarchs all the way to the completion of the Talmud, that's over 2,500 years of history right there. And let me tell you, it was not smooth sailing. This was a constant stream of crises. Slavery, having their homeland destroyed, being exiled. At every single one of these moments, the community had a choice: adapt or just disappear.
But what's so fascinating is that this incredible endurance wasn't just luck. It wasn't an accident. In a way, it was engineered. When you look at the historical sources, it seems to be built on three foundational pillars that gave the community this amazing ability to bend without ever breaking. Let's dig into that first one. First up, you've got this idea of prophetic leadership. People like Samuel, they weren't just politicians, They were the moral and spiritual glue that held all these different tribes together as one people. And then you had figures like Elijah, who were these fierce defenders of that identity, even starting schools to make sure the core beliefs were passed down when everything else was falling apart.
The second pillar is this absolutely genius idea of a portable law. The Talmud isn't just a book of scripture. It's described as a monumental structure. The best way to think about it is like a portable constitution, a legal system, and a cultural guide all rolled into one. It was the entire blueprint for the community that you could literally carry with you, no matter where you ended up in the world.
And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It shows you the genius of the whole strategy. When the physical center, the temple, the land itself was gone, destroyed, the law became the new center. It became this spiritual homeland that nobody could conquer or burn down. And that made the community's core identity pretty much indestructible.
But having a portable law didn't mean you didn't need a physical anchor. And that brings us to the third pillar, a dedicated central space. From the really early sanctuaries to the incredible temple in Jerusalem, these places weren't just for worship. They were the national hubs for festivals, for law, for a shared social life. They were the physical proof that the community was real. Okay, get ready because we are about to make a massive jump in time. We've seen the ancient model, right? But the big question is, do these principles still hold up? So let's leap forward thousands of years into the 20th century and see if we can spot that same blueprint at work, but this time in creating a brand new movement.
So let's land in post-war England and meet Tom and Jean Rees. Their situation could not be more different. They're not trying to sustain an ancient nation. They are building a new Christian movement totally from scratch, and their focus is on the individual. The challenge is new, but as we're about to see, their methods have some surprisingly ancient DNA.
And their method for building this movement was incredibly structured. It was almost like a four-step plan. You start with the power of individual authentic stories. Then you scale up to these huge public events. Then you make a direct appeal for a personal commitment. And then, and this is so crucial, you anchor that new community in a dedicated physical place.
This quote just brilliantly captures the power of that first step. The preacher wasn't some famous scholar. He was a milkman, but his story was real, it was authentic. And that raw honesty was way more powerful than any polished speech. He had something real, and that's what people were desperately looking for.
And they took this very personal message and scaled it up big time. By 1955, Tom Rees had held 50 rallies at London's Royal Albert Hall. 50! Can you imagine packing an iconic place like that again and again and again? It just proved the incredible power of bringing people together for a big, shared public experience.
So, we've looked at an ancient model of survival, and we've looked at a modern model of revival. Now, let's put them side by side. This is where we connect all the dots and see if that shared blueprint we've been hunting for finally snaps into focus.
So let's just quickly rewind. Remember the ancient model's dedicated space? The temple was the absolute, undeniable heart of the nation, a sacred physical center for the entire community.
And now, bam, look at the modern parallel. In 1946, the Reeses founded Hildenborough Hall. And what was it? A Christian holiday conference center. In other words, a dedicated space for teaching, for fellowship, for revival. It's serving the exact same function, a physical hub to ground the whole movement and give it a home.
And this is where the pattern just becomes undeniable. It's almost uncanny. You have a central text, the Torah and the Bible, a dedicated space, the temple and Hildenborough Hall, big public gatherings, temple festivals and those Albert Hall rallies, charismatic leadership, ancient prophets and modern evangelists like Tom Rees and that milkman. The names, the places, the centuries are all different, but the core principles are identical.
So at the end of the day, this really isn't just about religion, is it? It's about the mechanics of community itself. Across thousands of years, we see the exact same timeless blueprint pop up again and again. A core text, a central place, powerful gatherings, and inspiring leadership. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What does this ancient pattern reveal about our own deeply human need to belong, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves?